Following manic Monday, the carnage on financial markets is over for now. European markets opened slightly higher this morning after several consecutive days of losses sparked by Trump's introduction of global tariffs. Germany's DAX rose by 1.3%. The FTSE 100 opened up 1%, with the markets in Japan and Australia also slowly climbing upwards. Analysts warn that investors' moods are still jittery in relation to the ongoing disputes between the US and countries that impose tariffs. DW reporter Stephen Beardsley is at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. I asked him if the market is over yesterday's shock.
I don't know if they're over it yet, Ben. There's obviously a lot that still has to come, but we definitely see that there is a bit of a quieter session here going on right now. The DAX actually in positive territory, which is a nice turnaround from the past few days. And it's reacting, of course, to what's happened in Asia. We're seeing there that the Nikkei, the Japanese index, is in positive territory. It's making gains on that news that the White House is going to negotiate with Japan. We also see that stock markets in China and in Hong Kong are also up. So that seems to be what investors are looking for, is that good bit of positive news that the White House is willing to talk. Because at this point, we haven't seen any of that kind of discussion so far. And so I think that's something they're grabbing onto. But like I said, there is still a lot to be seen in the coming days. We know that many of those tariffs are scheduled to hit on Wednesday.
But it is interesting to see how Trump is doubling down with his tariffs, but all of a sudden people are deciding maybe it's not going to be all that bad. Am I reading that right?
I do think so. I think there's a couple things going on here. One is that China is trying to push back and showing that it's not going to give in so quickly. I think there is some sentiment that is buoyed in China because of that. But I do think on the other side of that, you could see that there is a burgeoning trade war that's coming out if you have counter tariffs and then counter tariffs. But I really think what everyone's holding on to right now is this willingness for the White House to discuss with Japan its current situation, the tariffs, the White House saying that Japan came to it first. That's why it wants to do that. We also know that a country like Japan isn't going to raise counter tariffs on the U.S., being so dependent for its security situation on them. How things are going to develop with China remains to be seen. And of course, there are a lot of cross ties of investment, of business relations. The DAX is highly dependent on what's going on in China because so many German businesses are invested in the country. So there is a positive sign, this glimmer for the first time, that the White House is going to come to the table with someone. But then there's still so much remaining to be seen that something can change in a matter of a day.
This latest extra 50% tariff on Chinese imports, what would that do to trade?
It's hard to say explicitly what that would do to trade or what that would do to the Chinese economy. We know already that the current tariffs put on China would take a major chunk out of the economy in terms of business relations falling and in terms of the recessionary tendency that's going to increase once that happens. If there's an additional 50%, there's going to be an added detriment to a lot of those companies, to the Chinese economy and to Europe as well. I think the bigger signal that it sends is that the trade war is going to escalate and escalate. And where does this lead towards? And so I think that would be something that obviously investors would take note of, is if those counter tariffs then go into place, then it's leading in a direction that's overall in a positive or negative, I should say, obviously, because it raises that likelihood of a global recession, of things spinning out of control.
The very latest there from our reporter at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, Stephen Beardsley. Great to see you.